Right, let's carefully look at question 5. In which circumstance will the total expenditure by consumers on a good increase when its price increases? The demand for the good is income elastic. The demand for the good is price inelastic. The price of a complementary good also increases. The price of substitute goods also increases. Now, total expenditure is dependent on demand. And we're looking at a change in price. So the first thing that should come to your mind is price elasticity. Now, in which case will when price increase, the total expenditure also increase? Let's look at 2 examples. This is a relatively inelastic demand curve, and this is a very, very elastic demand curve. Let's say these are my initial price quantity and price. Now there's been an increase in price, but in the case of the inelastic curve, the quantity change isn't much. That means the demand for the product hasn't shifted much. But in the case of a very elastic one, the demand has moved by quite a lot. As you can see, this distance is greater than this distance. And like I said, total expenditure is dependent on demand. So in this case, you're not only demanding around the same quantity of product, you're also paying a higher price. But in this case, you're demanding quite less of the product and you're paying the higher price. So obviously, the total expenditure in this case would be greater than in this case. Let's see, that means, if in an inelastic demand curve, the total expenditure will be greater when price increases. Let's look at if we've got an option as that. Demand for the good is income elastic. Well, income elasticity has nothing to do with price increases, so this is not an option. Demand for the good is price inelastic. That is the option that we're looking at. So the answer is B. Let's just briefly look at why C and D are wrong. The price of a complementary good also increases. Well, if the price of a complementary good increases, so a complementary good is something that is jointly demanded. For example, tennis rackets and tennis balls. If the price of the tennis ball increases, my demand for the tennis racket would decrease because I would have to buy both of them. So no, this is also not the case. My demand would rather decrease and thus a total expenditure. The price of substitute goods also increases. That has no effect, unfortunately, on the effect of the demand or the total expenditure on a product when its own price increases. So that's also not the case. Therefore, the answer is B.